Melee is finally back, and it's actually insane, and everything's just exploding. Tier 7 Hordes explodes, Tier 100s explodes, Lilith explodes, Arnie explodes. There's just explosions everywhere, man. Not only that, though, but it's all doable with the most shit gear imaginable. I used the build to level all the way from 1 to 100, instantly hopped into the end game and started slapping. It's just that easy, folks. I may even have forgotten to slot in my glyphs as I was recording this. But don't tell my boss. Me, that is. He'll fuck me up. Okay, let's start off by talking about how all of these explosions are even possible. First off, the skill causing all of the explosions is Shadow Imbuement. This skill has been quite mediocre previously, but seeing as the main activity is the Infernal Hordes now, it just got insane. The main problem with this, though, is how fast we run out of imbuement charges if we're rocking the melee playstyle and we're not force-feeding ourselves combo points. This is solved in two ways. One, rocking Shadow Imbuement charges on our rings and amulet, and secondly, by utilizing Death Trap. Mr. Perragaming, I don't quite understand. Can you explain how? Of course, my beautiful man or woman, it's all due to preparation. By spamming Flurry, we're spending a shit ton of energy, which in turn resets the cooldown of Death Trap. And this Death Trap resets all of our cooldowns. Once you get a Masterwork Shaco, you'll get the cooldown down so low that it will be permanently spammable. I'm not there quite yet, seeing as my gear is shit, but you obviously will. But that's not the only important benefit we are gaining from Death Trap. We are in fact getting a whopping 45% Big Damn bonus from the No Witness Legendary node, now changed in Season 5 to grant the bonus to all skills instead of just the ultimate. Absolutely lovely. But now you're probably like, okay, fine. But Flurry has been shit for ages, so why are we just now using it? Well, damn, because it got massively buffed. And I truly mean massively. On top of that, the Momentum Key passive got buffed to also grant us damage, which in turn means we can utilize the completely broken Dark Shroud tempers for more damage. These can get so goddamn ridiculous that they're generating 1000% additive damage on a two-hander, for example. This is also one of the reasons that with proper gear, you'll easily triple my current damage. Now, as you can see, the damage is highly focused on doing AoE damage. It sure deletes tier 100 bosses, but it's more focused on deleting Infernal Hordes spreading explosions like AIDS in the 90s. Another two important buffs the build got was via the tricks of the Trade Node and Smoke Bomb. Smoke Bomb was rather simple. It simply grants 25% Big Damn on all enemies now. The tricks of the Trade Node is trickier though, seeing as we're not rocking any marksman skills. Or are we? By slapping on the sharpshooter aspect, we can turn our caltrops into a marksman's skill, allowing us to benefit from that node as well. Now, while your two brain cell are working hard to understand all of this, you don't have to when it comes to playing the build, because I've made it so goddamn easy that even the most brain-dead of dad gamers can rock this build and enjoy it. I've made it so easy and tanky, in fact, that you can basically just stand still tanking T7 bosses if you want, holding down the Flurry button. And that's without even having Dark Shroud ranks on my chest, which is basically where most of our tankiness usually comes from. But enough of the chit-chat. Let's check out the gear and aspects making the build work, because there's a lot to cover here. Starting us off, you absolutely want the Shaco here, but if you don't have it, you're looking for this with one exception. The maximum life temper should be removed. Wait, what? But it looks so insane. Yeah, that's what I thought as well. But Blizzard seemed to have fucked up again and made the max life scale from the base life because I'm getting roughly 1/5 of what I was expecting. Instead, you'll go for second win ranks here. Also, slap on the assimilation aspect. For chest, the same goes there. The Umbrous aspect is insanely important and is how you gain Dark Shrouds without actually having it on the bar. So if you see anyone asking about how we gain dark shrouds without it being on the bars in the comments section, gladly tell them to fuck off and actually watch the video El Mo. Either way, for utility tempers, we can grab Flurry size now. This is massive within the infernal hordes, and we should aim to get it to 100%, which is the cap. We then have the gloves. This is where my gear turns to shit, because we need Flurry ranks here instead of dexterity. Just awful. But what is not awful is the edging master aspect, so slap that shit on my man. I'd also go with damage per dark shroud stack here instead of the cutthroat attack speed. For pantaloonies, this is the aspect I was talking about previously. By only wasting a defensive aspect and turning our caltrops into a marksman skill, we gain utilized tricks of the trade in the Perragons for 25% big damn. You'll also need to get your armor and resistances sorted. Either grab a yummy GA armor roll, or you'll have to suck it up and grab 2 of them. Same goes for the resistances. For the sneakers, grab these and slap on the concussive strikes. This aspect is insanely important, seeing as we need to daze enemies for trick attacks to kick in. When it comes to the weapons, this is where shit turns interesting. Damage per dark shroud is the name of the game in this build, and will so much of it in fact that any other additive damage is near useless. And what does this mean for us? Well, damn, you can actually replace the damage that I've rolled here for chance to gain resources back everywhere. I have that in my non-Uber version, but seeing as I'm currently rocking Starless Skies, I'm fine without that. Either way, the other tempers on my weapons are just fucking hilarious. I tried to roll caltrops size 2 of them and ended up with poison trap duration, but honestly it's not that important. Hilarious regardless, as it's the only temper in that category we can't use. We also need ultimate damage sockets here. This is due to the Perragons, where we can turn it into a multiplicative stat. We'll need 450. To get that, you'll need 1 roll on the weapon as well and masterwork that shit. For the final aspects here, you're grabbing encircling blades along with the accelerating aspect for massive damage. When it comes to the amulet, this one is absolutely dog. Or well, it's alright. Malice is a good passive, but you're really looking for passives such as Unstable Elixir, Exploit, or Trick Attacks for a huge damage boost. This is the gear piece you'll gain the most damage from, so start swiping, buddy. It's also important that you get Shadow Imbuement rank here and slap on the Stolen Vigor aspect. Fun fact, this aspect was previously a defensive aspect and it was shit. For the rings, I have the Starless, so I'm using that and the Starlight aspect. This will be your main source of resource generation. There are a lot of ways to solve resources though, so if you want to experiment with that, then go for it. This is one way to do it. Well shit, gear and aspects are now done. Just so no one misses it, preparation is the name of the game when it comes to the specialization, and hey, will you look at that? It's already skill tree a fucking clock, and you know it, my man or woman. Starting us off, the basic skills deserve a wet fart, so that's what they're getting. Next up are the core skills where we have a few defensives along with our main skill, Flurry, along with some lovely additional bonuses for more damage. We then have a few agility skills, Shadow Step for unstoppable and mobility, along with enhanced caltrops for massive damage. This is also where we have Unstable Elixir and Trick Attacks, which are just massive to have on the amulet. After that, we go to the subterfuge skills for defensives, Big Damn and Dark Shroud. You definitely want to have this on your chest, as the damage reduction it provides is just huge. And of course, Smoke Bomb for the 25% damage. In the imbuements, we find our Shadow Imbuement along with Frigid Finesse. This one is mainly used on bosses as we're getting the bonus on staggered bosses, but we also want a chance to freeze temper on one of our gear pieces to keep this up as much as possible. After that, we pick up Second Wind, which we also want as our defensive tempers as it's just bonkers, and finish off with the key passive. Momentum got a huge buff in Season 5, now gaining up to 50% damage bonus permanently. On top of that, it makes us tankier and fast as fuckboy, which is just lovely. Hey, will you look at that skill tree complete? What do you say we take a look at the Perragons now? How about hell yes? Being a brain-dead gamer forced to play in melee range, we have to be tanky. Unfortunately, this also means that I've had to give up some damage in the Perragons. But it's all good. We're still blasting. Starting us off, Chip grants us 10% damage along with utilizing Dex, which is nice. We then go to pick up Cheap Shot and Socket Fluidity. Having it here grants an additional 9% damage reduction and, of course, some multiplicative damage. After that, it's time for No Witnesses. This one got a huge buff in Season 5, now granting damage to all skills. We want to get it capped, and you'll sort that out if you masterwork the temper on the one-hander. I'm also socketing efficacy here to boost the max life. After that, we head on over to Tricks of the Trade for the damage bonus and socket exploit. This allows us to gain vulnerable instantly on all enemies before they get blown up, which is just massive. Not unlike something else, am I right, folks? No? Okay. After that, we go to pick up exploit weakness and a bit of max life. It's then time to head back and go all the way to Deadly Ambush. Now, this is important, so listen up, dammit. This node right here is why we want caltrop size mainly, because if we land our caltrops within the infernal hordes, then they will take 23% more damage instantly, and damage good for Glyph, Socket Canny, and finish off with Eldritch Bounty for the Shadow Imbuement damage bonus. And that, my friends, are the Perragons. Are you still here? Damn right you are, because otherwise I'd fucking lose it. You're also in luck, because it's time for what we've all been waiting for. Yep, it's time to get hecking good. As I said earlier, this build is insanely easy to play in general, but there are a few things you can do to maximize your damage. And more damage equals bigger dick, that's just a fact. So, let's take it skill by skill. First off, Death Trap should be used every time Shadow Imbuement is on cooldown, and preferably on top of enemies Elamau, as they actually pull them in as well. Shadow Step is either used for mobility or whenever you get crowd controlled. Shadow Imbuement should also be used on cooldown. Caltrops is the only difficult part. Now, in the infernal hordes, it doesn't really matter all too much where you put it, seeing as you'll still gain the 25% damage bonus if you miss it, but when it comes to the bosses, you'll actually want to hit it. Not only does this grant you additional damage multipliers, but it also makes them vulnerable. So get good. For Smoke Grenade, you're just using it on elites and bosses. Or when you're bored, that's fine as well. And finally, your Health Potion. You're gaining a damage bonus whenever you chug a potion, so you'll want to do that every 10 seconds ideally. But seeing as that might get you killed, don't waste them in case you're doing something actually tough. Alright, that's all for this one, friends. Drop a sub, you won't regret it. And I'll see you in the next one.